chisel plane is an unusual tool that excels at trimming things like screw plugs or dowels, dovetails, or edge banding flush with a surface. It's also an excellent way to remove a glue line or to work into corners. The number 97, or large chisel plane, was the Stanley original. They only made one size. We decided a smaller version, the number 97.5, would be a more useful tool for day-to-day work. It's a very simple plane in that it has a cap iron, a blade, which beds onto the body of the tool, the knob, and a depth adjuster. The depth adjuster is turning in a slot in the back of the blade, which simply gives the positioning for the blade itself. The plane functions as a trimming tool to bring surfaces flush. There is no support in front of the blade, which means you don't want to bring the cutting edge below the level of the sole of the plane. This makes setup a little bit different from our regular planes. The bedding angle is 12 degrees, making this a low angle plane. The blade has a 25-degree bevel. We recommend a 30-degree secondary bevel for ease of sharpening and greater edge life. Be sure to keep your edge as sharp as possible. You'll essentially be pairing with this tool, and a good sharp blade will be to your advantage. Be sure not to over-tighten the cap. When you first place this on the tool, tighten it until it just stops wiggling, and then advance the thumb screw another half a turn. To set the depth of cut, place the plane over a flat surface, loosen the cap a quarter turn, and pushing the plane ahead, advance the blade. When it just catches on the workpiece, retract the blade, still pushing the plane forward, and when it releases, you should be at your depth of cut. Retighten the quarter turn you took out, and double check that it's not catching. If one corner is taking a cut, use a small hammer. Make a tap on the side of the blade that's cutting heavy, and that'll bring the blade into parallel. Be sure to remove any backlash so that the blade won't retract when you're using the tool. And now with that setting, the plane should be able to pass over a flat surface and not take a shaving, but anything proud of that surface will be trimmed off flush. Now that you know a little bit more about the setup of these tools, let's look at some of the more common uses. Number 97, being a heavier tool, is going to be more useful when more mass is required. If you have a solid wood edge banding of 3/4 of an inch or wider on a veneer panel, the extra weight of the tool will help it carry through a cut. Try to always use a slicing or sweeping action for the cut. This will help you control tear out. If you do happen to be going against the grain, taking a small bite and not working full length along the cut will help to tear out from running away. Whenever possible, work with the grain. In a situation where you have a thinner solid wood edge banding or a veneer edging on a veneer panel, or you need to get rid of a glue line, the smaller, number 97.5, will be the perfect choice. Again, work with the slicing action or sweeping action across the cut. You can remove the glue line and some of the excess material before going right into your cut, removing the edge banding. Because the cutting edge is not protruding below the sole of the plane, you won't damage the veneer surface. Another spot the 97.5 is extremely useful is when working into the corner of a stopped rabbet or the inside corner of a cabinet. The plane will trim the inside edge of a rabbet much like a shoulder plane, but also allows you to get right up into the corner of the stopped rabbet. Another great use for the 97.5 is when trimming off a screw plug, or in this case, a dowel. You need to pare this down flush with the workpiece underneath. Because the cutting edge is not below the sole of the plane, you won't damage the workpiece underneath. Another great spot for it is if you need to trim back the pins on a dovetail. It allows you to just shape that down carefully without damaging the workpiece underneath. Like any bronze plane, these will not rust, but do oxidize. The resulting patina is actually quite nice, but if you prefer a bright finish, you can use an abrasive hand block or a Scotch-Brite pad to keep the bronze shiny. There are some bright polished points on the tool, like the cap and the heel of the plane, that you can polish with a sunshine cloth or brass polish. Like any tool, it's a good idea to wipe the plane down with a lightweight oil, like camellia or jojoba, for protection at the end of the day. A chisel plane is a tool you may not have seen before, or at least not seen a need for. After using one a few times, you may find you're reaching for it with a regularity that surprises you. Have fun finding new uses for this unique tool.